Good morning, Year 3, and welcome to Monday's writing lesson. It's the beginning of a new week. I hope you had a great weekend. Well, it's time for us to carry on with our writing journey through our story. Remember, we're writing a narrative story aimed at anyone who's a dragon enthusiast, and the main aim is to entertain the reader. Remember the story of the Dragon Snatcher? Well, we're carrying on with that this week. Here is the work that we looked at last week. Remember how we learnt the story. George is in his bedroom, a dragon comes and collects him, and George rides on the dragon's back and is taken to a gloomy castle. That's the main part of the story we're going to be focusing on today. So there it is, George on the back of the dragon. Now, in the story itself, if you remember, it says, he clung tightly as they were whisked on the north wind to a land that was neither here nor there. Over lofty peaks they soared. And I just feel that that could be developed a lot more. I'd like to know a lot more detail about that dragon's flight. So today we are learning to make the reader feel excited, scared, and thrilled about an adventurous journey. We're doing this because we want to entertain the reader and make it our writing worth reading. So the success criteria are that I want you to write about George and the dragon's flight, ensure that we communicate through our vocabulary choices, that it's a fast-paced, exciting and scary adventure. We're going to use prepositions of place within our sentences, and we're going to be working on our own writing targets of trying to make sure we're adding as much detail as possible to our writing. Think back to last week on Friday when we watched the video, this video here. We spent quite a lot of time with that video, looking through it several times, and we made our list of brainstormed words linked to the scenery and linked to the dragon and linked to George. Well, today you're going to need those notes. So if you need to, pause this video and go and find your work from Friday. If you can't find it, go back onto YouTube and watch the video again from Friday, because you really want to have a good, strong image in your mind of that dragon with George on his back. I need you to set up a page of paper as well. So for the core and the extension task, you need to be working on your own paper today. I've not provided you with a worksheet. There is a worksheet for the simplified group only. Most of you are going to be working on paper, or you can type it if you have those facilities at home. Do your dum-tum, date, underline, misalign, title. Can I make the reader feel excited, scared, and thrilled? That is our aim today. Pause the video to get your page set up. So there, the effect on the reader. This is what I want the reader to feel. You have to make the reader feel what George is feeling. You just scare them a bit, excite them too, and get that feeling that the journey is super fast and thrilling. So you should have your list in front of you now of the scenery words you wanted to use, the dragon's flight words, and George's experiences. And I want you to use those words in your writing today. As you manage to use one of those words, why don't you tick it off your sheet? You don't have to use every single one that you've written down, but try to tick them off to show that you are actually remembering to use them. Also to help you, I've given you a word bank. Now this is some general words that are linked to the topic that I think lots of you will want to use. It's mainly there to give you the spellings, but it might stimulate a few ideas for you too. So I've divided them into the nouns, the adjectives in the middle, and the verbs as well. So feel free to use those words in your writing today. And also don't forget about your prepositions. They will probably come naturally now. They will probably just slip them into your sentences. But if you get stuck and aren't sure what to write about, have a look at the prepositions. It's bound to be something there that will stimulate. So you've got loads of things you need to be drawing upon to help you build your sentences today. Well, I'm now going to have a go. I've got my date and title written, And I've decided I'm going to start my first sentence with the character's name, George, because it's going to focus on George to begin with. Now, I want to get the idea that George has just got onto the dragon and then the dragon's going to take off and leave. And I want to get that initial excitement of leaving. So I really want to think, first of all, about George's experience of climbing onto the dragon's neck. He could climb on, he could clamber on, he could climb. Yeah, I'll put climb for now. So George climbed onto the dragon's body. George climbed onto the dragon's body, and I've remembered to use apostrophe S for dragons because it's the body belonging to the dragon. Okay, now I'm going to definitely need to expand on this. I want to talk about the texture of the dragon's body. So what's the dragon got? Skin, scales, isn't it? Scales. So climbed onto the dragon's scale, the scales of the dragon's body, the rough scales, the rough scales. Yeah, that'll do. George climbed onto the rough scales of the dragon's body. Now, I wonder what the body's doing. The dragon seemed quite excited. So I think the dragon could be breathing, maybe. Maybe, I know what my dog's like. I've got a little dog at home. What my dog's like when I'm about to take him for a walk, he gets all kind of shaky where he's excited and wants to go. George climbed onto the rough scales of the shaking dragon's body. Shaking dragon's body. Oh, better word than shaking, I think, might be trembling. Let's try that. Trembling dragon's body. George climbed onto the rough scales of the trembling dragon's body. I'm not happy with climbed. I'm going to put a full stop at the end of that sentence, but I'm not happy with climbed. He climbed onto the rough scales. I think I've come up with better. Climbed, grabbed, clambered, scrambled. Yes, I wanted to sound like it's a little bit chaotic, that maybe he hasn't done it before, whereas climbed suggests that maybe he knows what he's doing. So I think scrambled would be better there. Scrambled onto the rough scales of the trembling dragon's body. I also want to really show that George has never done this before. I want it to feel strange to him. So George scrambled onto the strange rough scales of the trembling dragon's body. The strange rough scales, I wonder if he's expecting it to be rough. Rough feeling scales, strange rough feeling scales. Rather than strange, how about the fact that he's never done it before would make it unfamiliar? Let's have that. George scrambled onto the unfamiliar feeling. George scrambled onto the unfamiliar feeling. Oh, I've done a typing error there, haven't I? That should be a double E. Feeling. George scrambled onto the unfamiliar feeling rough scales of the trembling dragon's body. Yes, I like that. Now, they're going to take off. They're going to go off really quickly. It's going to catch him by surprise. Suddenly, no, not suddenly. Everybody says suddenly. That's boring. Without warning. How about that? Without warning, comma, they were off. Yes, without warning, they were off. That deserves an exclamation mark. Without warning, they were off. They're going to go really fast. They went fast. Yeah, that's not very well developed, is it? They went fast. They went as fast as a rocket. Yeah, that would do. They went as fast as a speeding rocket. Maybe they were speeding. Maybe they went speedily. That would be good. Speedily. I like that word. Speedily. They went speedily through the sky. They went speedily through the sky. Speedily through the sky. They went speedily through the sky. Without warning, they were off. They went speedily. Went. Not happy with went. Come on, we can do better than went. They rushed speedily through the sky. They zoomed. No, zoomed, too childish. They darted. Oh, maybe they were like a dart. Oh, yeah, because darts go speedily, don't they? I could use the idea of a dart. Like a dart. That's a simile. Like a dart, they... Okay, let's put that in. Like a dart, comma, they went speedily through the sky. They zoomed. No, I'm back where I was again. They soared. Soared. Yes, that's in my list of verbs here. They flew, glided, soared, plunged, twisted, twirled through the sky. They soared. Let's use that one. They soared speedily like a dart. They soared speedily through the sky. Full stop. Yeah, that's okay. Now, what's George doing? George is holding on. George held on tight. That's a bit dull, isn't it? George grabbed hold, grasped hold, grabbed, tightly grabbed. Yes, George not held. George tightly grabbed on tight. So rather than saying we don't need that tight now, George tightly grabbed his neck. His neck. His, what could we say about his neck? His scaly neck? No, we've said about scales. I know, underneath those scales, it's going to be really thick and strong, isn't it? How about muscular neck? Grabbed his muscular neck. George tightly grabbed his muscular neck. Hang on though. Whose neck? That sounds like George's neck. He's not grabbing his own neck. George tightly grabbed the creature's muscular neck. And I had to use an apostrophe S again to show the muscular neck belongs to the creature. George tightly grabbed the creature's muscular neck. They twisted. Oh, let's see, what did they do? They twisted and twirled and spun. Yes, twisted and twirled and spun. They twisted and spun through the icy mist. Yeah. They twisted and spun through the icy mist. Onwards, they sped. I think I'll have an exclamation mark at the end again. Right, let's see if I'm happy with that. I have to make the reader feel excited, scared, and thrilled. Let's see if I've succeeded. George scrambled onto the unfamiliar feeling rough scales of the trembling dragon's body. Without warning, they were off. Like a dart, they soared speedily through the sky. George tightly grabbed the creature's muscular neck. They twisted and spun through the icy mist. Onwards they sped. Yeah, that sounds great. So today, I just want you to start that flight. Get George onto the dragon, get him moving, get him holding on tight, use some words to describe the flight of the dragon and George's response. If you can get some senses in there as well. I haven't included anything like the wind blowing in his eyes, making his eyes water and stream. I haven't put anything in there about George's heart racing. I haven't put anything in there about George yelling at the top of his voice in delight. I haven't got anything in there about George feeling the wings beating either side of him. There's loads that you could really expand on in there. Mine is really just a start. Make the reader feel. If you need that simplified, if that's a bit too scary to get started, some of you will take this sheet in which I've given you some sentence starters. George did what, the dragon did what, the journey was what. But I really would advise you to avoid using that sheet if possible, because your writing will be so much better if you can create your own ideas. When you've finished it, read it back. You could hear how many times I read it through. Keep on reading it back, change it, tweak it. Now, I could keep changing things because I was typing them. Your writing will be untidy because you're going to have to cross things out, change things, add things in, take things away. That's okay. It doesn't matter. That's the writing process. It's a messy process. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. If when you've finished, if you think it looks an absolute mess and no one's going to be able to work out what you've written, then you might need to write it out again underneath just so it's nice and tidy. When you're happy, make sure you can scare, excite, and show the reader how fast and thrilling the writing was. So have fun with that today, and we can't wait to read your extremely thrilling and exciting parts to your dragon ride. It doesn't have to be massively long, and it is only the beginning of the dragon ride. Later on this week, we will be writing the next part of the dragon ride where he actually arrives at the castle. So don't mention the castle yet, just get him on the dragon. Can't wait to see all your writing, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.